Hi, welcome to the Sunshine Secret of OC. I'm your host, Lisa Huscher, and today we're going to tap into messages and intuitive energies that move, inspire, and sometimes surprise you. Will probably surprise me too. So sit back and relax, and let's see what divine messages come through. Today I have my guest, Angela Parretta.
Hello, excited to be here.
We love having you here. And Angela has an amazing, beautiful studio called Drenched OC, soon to be Drenched Beverly Hills.
Drenched LA.
Drenched LA. And the studio is the first studio to have a heated reformer.
Yes,
So-
we were the first and only to have a heated reformer Pilates studio in the country.
That is so awesome. I can't wait to go to the new studio.
It's
But
beautiful.
you kicked my butt, the other one. So
That's what I do.
you kick butt.
I'm a butt kicker.
So I wanted to, before we get started, I just wanted to share with you a little bit about my intuitive process, which Angela, you already know about
Yes.
because we've got some fun stories to
We
share. But for the people that don't know, my process is where the energy of the other individual and my energy, we're connected together. So we sort of are sharing energy, I guess. That gives me permission to sort of tap in to you. And the more open you are, the easier it is for me to convey messages or things that might be coming through. If at any time you feel like I'm saying something that might make you feel uncomfortable or a little weird, then we can take a pause because I've been known to be a blurter, so I'm not sure what will come out. But all positive, all wonderful things that I share. I don't do anything negative. And some of the things that I share come in different ways. So my messages come in ways of symbols. I see pictures, almost like a movie, a photo. I also will hear. So I'll either hear my words or somebody else's words. And then, of course, the intuitive, the gut instinct or the all-knowing feeling, which we women are very strong with.
Right, that second brain of our gut.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So those are ways that I convey my messages. And you and I have become instant friends, I think, through your strong intuitive ability also, which,
I agree.
yeah, so instantaneously. But I absolutely love, well, the first story about how we met. So
Yes.
if you could share that.
Right.
That was like,
Well, the very first time we met was at our holiday party for Drenched OC, and you were doing readings there, which booked up so quickly that if my good friend Rita wouldn't have grabbed my arm and dragged me over to your table, I wouldn't have gotten a reading that night because I was in hostess
yeah.
mode.
And I even forgot about
Yeah.
that was the first time that I gave you that reading, and
Yes.
I saw the
new
boxing.
studio. You saw the new studio. And you were spot on with how it's going now. You were like, this one's going to be more successful. Not that it's more successful than our first studio, but it is starting out hot where our other studio, it took a while to build momentum. We're already just packed over there.
Yeah.
But then so many people didn't get a reading at that party. My
I talked
staff.
as fast as I could, and I was like, I'm like, oh, I've
I
held
can't
my pee for
imagine.
3 hours,
Yes.
and like, so I was like in the zone.
Right. So then
Yeah.
I booked you again to come to
house.
my house for my staff party because I wanted all my staff to get a reading and to enjoy that. But what was so funny is that you showed up to the party before I did.
I know. I'm like, hello, texting. I'm like, is it okay to walk in your house? You're like,
Yeah.
come on in. There's dogs.
The
I'm like,
door's open.
sitting with the dogs on the
Right.
floor. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so gracious. I'm just
Yeah.
in her house.
Right. So what I
Yeah.
loved is because you and I only spent that
I don't know,
10
60
minutes.
seconds? Oh, yeah.
Right. Whatever that reading
Right.
was. So I didn't really know you that well. In fact, you're still in my phone as Lisa Tarot Card Reader.
Even though I don't do
I know,
tarot
and then
cards,
you
but
didn't,
yeah.
which I was relieved because I don't love a tarot reading. But then I walk into the house and there you are. First of all, you were sitting down with my puppies and just petting them. So I was like, okay, I already love you. And then you're like, the energy in your house, it's so good. And I was like, oh, thank God, because there had been some drama with family there recently. And I was like, I had saged. So I was pretty sure that I had cleared out all the bad juju. But then when you said that the woman, well, first, what I loved about you is that you were very like, is it okay? I like that you're like, is it okay for me?
Oh, I did ask.
You
Thank
did.
God, because you're supposed to ask when
Yeah.
you're sharing messages for
Right.
people, and I tend to be a blurter where
Yeah.
I say it and then I'm like, sorry.
You're like,
But
is it
I'm
okay
just
if I
glad
tell you? But you were like, the woman who lived here is still here. And she loves you, and she picked you to buy this house. And that just made, the house even more like beautiful in my mind, because I know I have this positive energy. And you said she was a protector watching over the house and watching over us. So I knew instantly we were going to be such great friends, because this is just so me.
And I was worried at that moment. I remember looking at Scott, and he was like behind that couch, and I'm like, oh, I hope the husband's going to like me now.
Oh,
or
yeah,
is he
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
freak out? Or
Yeah.
And I looked at him, and he was like, yeah, that's right. There was
Right.
somebody that, so I
Yeah.
that passed, and the woman, and she loves to do flower. Remember I said
Yeah.
flower arrangements and things like that. So,
Which is so funny, because I've always gone to mediums and readers, but I've never been friends. So when we pulled up to your workshop last weekend, I had a meltdown in the car. And I was like, I don't even know if I want to do this. And Scott goes, well, you can't lie, because Lisa will know. I can't make up an excuse that I don't feel good, because you'll be like, oh, no.
Well, I really
Which I would never
appreciated
lie
you
to you
coming. Yeah,
anyway.
you're amazing. You're always amazing. You always put on your energy is just, it's incredible. And when we went to lunch that one
Yeah.
time, and you were sharing to me about this new event that you were doing and the
Yes.
fashion show, and so maybe share a little bit about that. How I was talking about the cords and the carpet. And,
Oh my gosh, it was so that is so crazy too, because so this fashion show that I was doing, this big charity event, and I was running the fashion show, and I didn't love the venue, although it turned out gorgeous. But you kept saying, I don't know, there's something like the carpet, or something is going on. Somebody's going to trip or fall. Just keep your eye on the carpet. So, and it was brand new carpet that they had just put in. So the day of the event, I'm walking with models and designers, and we're doing fittings, and there's cords everywhere. And I keep
I
saying,
remember thinking, the cords, man. Someone's gonna.
you would think that I owned the building and was afraid I was going to get sued. I was like, watch your step, watch your step, watch your step. There's a cord, watch your step, watch your step. And everything was fine. And we're all standing backstage. And one of my models, we're all just standing there talking, having a good time. And all of a sudden, one of my models just dropped and kind of went into the drapes. And she stands up, and we were all like, oh my gosh, are you okay? And I heard a snap, and I was like, oh my gosh, I hope that wasn't her ankle.
Right.
She comes up, and her heel had completely broken off her shoe. And I think in the moment she was probably really embarrassed or, feeling like, oh my gosh, what just happened? And I immediately was like, I knew this was going to happen. I already knew this was going to happen. Lisa told me that there was going to be, somebody was going to fall. There was, and I was like, thank God it didn't happen on stage. It was backstage. So we got it out of the way. No one else is going to fall. There's no tripping. From that moment on, I was like, shoot, I don't even care about these cords, because it already happened.
Right.
We're already
right.
good.
And I remember I was talking, because it seemed like such a random thing. Like, who gives advice? Watch out for the cords. Watch
Right.
out for carpet. It's
Yeah.
like, well, I have bigger things to think about. I'm doing a really big event.
Right. Thank you. All
yeah.
this pressure of the fashion show, and now I'm worried about somebody tripping somewhere.
And for me, it becomes like almost like a broken record.
Yeah.
Like over and over in my head, I'm like, okay, I get it. I'm going to tell her. Okay, I'll repeat it. I'll tell her
Right.
again.
Yeah.
And that's when I stress to people, when I'm repeating things or I emphasize certain things, it's because they're really important, even though at that time it seems very insignificant or very small. Like,
Yeah.
okay, big deal. Someone trips. There's a little bit
Right.
of carpet. But for you, you're a perfectionist. You want to have a perfect event. So,
Right.
you don't need any deaths
Yeah.
or anything happening.
But it was great,
Yeah.
because it was like, all the models, I think, felt better after that. We were all like, okay, this is going to be a clean
Yeah.
show. We don't even have to worry about it.
Yeah. Sunshine Secret of OC podcast is brought to you by Belle Boutique. If you love fashion and you love the California lifestyle, be sure to shop with them in Orange County. Yeah. I know in just the short time that we've known each other, it seems like already, because it was November, I think, that we met
Yes.
for your event. So
Yeah.
it's already, hasn't been that long.
Right.
We're already on how many stories?
I
3,
know,
4?
right.
And then when the girl came to your house and you were telling her, right, about about the lady that lives there
Right.
and this
Yes.
little paranormal stuff.
Right. Right.
Window lights.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I was telling somebody about the story about the woman being there, and right when I talked about, yeah, Lisa said that there's an energy here. The woman still is around. The light flickered, and I was like, oh, there she is.
And that's something too. I mean, people will talk about that where, we connect from, people that have passed or things that we can't see. And sometimes, you get the lights flickering, you get electronics going off,
Right.
alarms, I don't know if you've ever had anything like that happen to you where.
Yeah, and I was told that I have a little bit of the gift of the intuitive, insightful, and I've had two different readers tell me that. And the second one I said, yeah, I've been told that before, but I don't know how to tap into it. And she told me, she was like, do you ever feel like there's somebody looking over your shoulder? And I was like, yeah, often. And she's like, slow down. She goes, you always turn. She goes like, but you just need to like let it be and kind of feel it. And that night I saw my husband's grandfather. Just for a moment, I woke up and I said, I think your grandpa was here last night. And I explained what he was wearing, and Scott pulled up a picture and was like, I was like, yeah, that was it.
So it sounds like he's a strong presence in your life, both of your lives, guiding you.
Well, he probably doesn't like me
Oh, you
because
don't think he likes you? What was he doing behind you?
nothing. He was just standing there.
Oh.
But Scott had golf clubs at our old house, and I was sick of seeing them in the garage. He never used them. I gave them to Goodwill.
Uh-oh.
And then Scott was like, where are my golf clubs? And I'm like, oh, I took them to Goodwill. You never use them. And he goes, those were my grandfather's golf clubs. And I thought he was just, fooling me. And I was like, yeah, right. And he's like, no, those were my grandfather's golf clubs. He went to Goodwill and to try to find them. He found some of them. But so maybe the grandfather was showing up to me to be like, why'd you get rid of my golf clubs?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big believer in that there isn't the negativity. It's all positive. It's all joyful. And I really do believe that.
Yeah.
I think that for anybody that is fearful of some of the things like you were saying, maybe feeling something behind you, a presence.
It's not bad.
No, but
Yeah.
I want to share that we there are ways to protect ourselves. So
Right.
one of the things that I always tell people too is just the visualization exercise of imagining a white light surrounding your body as a protection, and just simply stating, I'm only going to let positive, joyful, loving energy come to me. And nothing negative is going to penetrate this
Yes.
invisible, white thing. And I have to say, I've really never had anything that's been negative. People ask me, are you afraid of ghosts? Are you afraid of somebody,
Right.
And I say, no, I
Yeah.
really am not, because we are much more powerful here than they are there.
Right.
So
I agree. And I wonder how you answered this, but like I have a friend who's very religious, and she and I, like I said, I have readings all the time. And she is like, I don't know. I just think it's evil. It's an evil presence. And I said to her one day, I said, well, it's always my family coming through.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're evil.
Yeah.
But how do you, now who's in charge of the podcast,
Yeah.
how do you combat that with people that are afraid to have a reading? Or
I really believe that everybody is entitled to feel how they want to feel and to have their opinions, and I have a lot of respect. There's so many different religions and different types of spirituality, and we all are guided in different ways. So I like to come from a place of just the intuitive ability that we receive in many different ways. I had a friend who came to one of my workshops, and she's Christian, and she, believes in certain things. And I said, it's so wonderful that you're here. And she said, Jesus gives me my messages, and, I'm like, this is so wonderful that you have that, because
Right.
that's how you receive.
yes.
Right? I receive in a completely different, unique way. You might receive in a different way, but we all have our own special ways of receiving. So I think that, we're all different and we're all unique.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And to receive positive energy from whatever it's coming from is so great. Like the first time I had a reading and I was terrified, you're just nervous, not terrified. That's not right the word, but just nervous because you don't know what you're going to hear. It was explained to me. It's like going in and getting a hug from the universe. My friend was like, you're going to feel so good after you have this reading. And I think that's why it was such a good reading, because I am so open to receiving the information, where I've sent people for readings and they're like, oh, it wasn't that great. And I was like, well, your attitude's not that great. That's why. Because you don't believe in this. So
well, yeah, and it's accountability. They have to take accountability too. And like I said earlier when we first got together, it's my energy and your energy as a team. We're working together. If you're open, I'm open. I'm only receiving what you're sharing.
Right.
So if you're not sharing, I'm not receiving. You know, pass on, walk along.
But what can I ask you this? Here I go again, leading the podcast. I have had people stop me twice. Twice I have had people stop me and say, I need to give you a message. One did say, is it okay? And I had never had a reading before, and I was like, no. I was like, I had my daughter with me. She was little at the time, and I didn't know if it was like scammy or something, And I said, no. I go, well, was it bad? She goes, no. She goes, it's really, really good. And I said, okay, well, let's just leave it at that then. And so to this day, whenever something like good is happening or I'm moving forward in something positive in my career, I'm always like, oh, I wonder if this is what she was talking about. And then I keep going, no, that's not it. There's something really big and great that I haven't, seen yet.
Well, a lot of the times, and here's why, first of all, you'll get stopped. So this is a really good example, and this is one of the reasons why I really wanted to share today with you too, is because you vibrate at such a high level. This is why you and I are attracted spiritually together. This is why you and I are friends, right? Because we're vibrating at this level. Now, people that are not vibrating at that level means they're more closed off. They're not filled with the sense of joy, the sense of peace and love. So the highest vibration is being in a state of peace, being in a state of love. So when I go inward and I go to that place, the sky is the limit, right? Because I'm coming from a place of love.
Right.
So you are a walking love billboard. So you're open, you're caring, you are always there to pick up the person that falls, right?
Thank you.
So
that's sweet.
People are attracted to that light, therefore makes you more open and more accessible, which can sometimes be to your detriment, because you're like, stay out of my energy, get out. So that's why it's also important to protect, like we talked about before, like it's kind of like protecting your boundaries. Making sure that the things that are going to come are positive. And it sounds like the people that have come to you have been positive people. Yeah. So you just keep on that path, what you're doing.
Right.
And you can access all that everybody else knows. You don't need these people to give you messages. You can access those messages on your own, which I feel like you already do. And you're already being led. Like we talked, you're already walking the walk, talking the talk. Right. By being very connected to your sense of self.
Yeah. Well, I think what's interesting too, I was thinking about this the other day, that woman who stopped me at Topanga Mall, if I would have let her tell me whatever this good news or whatever great thing was going to happen, it may have led me a different path. Instead of it being like an inspiration of, wow, there's something. And this is where I get emotional. I'm such an emotional person, but I truly believe that like my life is so great, but there is something even better that I haven't gotten to yet. And I think that's why the universe didn't let me have her share with whatever she wanted to share with me at the time, because I didn't know enough about the intuitives that would come into my life and share things with me. And so I think, again, that's just the universe is always getting us from point A to point B.
And you're making those choices. That's why, like, I stay away from the things that I share with people. I always call them like, I'm a guide. I'm your intuitive guide. I'm not telling your fortune. Right. I'm not telling you what to do. Yes. I'm not telling you who to marry, what path to take. That is not my choice. Right. And then that's not my job. Yeah. My job is to tell you whether something is feeling good or not, to guide you, to reassure you, to validate you on your path.
Yeah.
And so you always have more than one road to take.
And how do you tell somebody if they're not on the path that you are seeing that they're going to go? How do you gently say, maybe you should take this other direction? Do you just say that, or?
Well, what I typically do, if let's say I'm feeling something that's not going in the way that it could be harmful for them, or something extremely negative, what I do is I tap into the feelings of joy and peace. I find that within them, because everybody has that within them, and what's for their highest and best use, right? What would be best for them? I guide them in options. I say, well, you know what feels good to me? Have you ever thought about such and such?
Yes,
because it's
smart.
their choice,
Yeah.
right? Or have you ever thought about this? And I will get validation through goosebumps, right? Like I just did
Right.
now, or like a physical validation. So I'm sharing what I see, but I'm also opening their mind to possibilities, right? Because if they think that other things are possible, then maybe there's a better road than the road that they're on right now. Because
Yeah.
a lot of the times, those negative roads that are not, they don't see any other way.
Yeah.
That's the road. I'm on the road. There's nothing positive for me. I can't see any other way. If somebody shares with them what could be possible, then I think that they open up their mindset. So there's always more than one way.
Right.
And it's up for you to choose. You've done a good job choosing.
Well, yeah.
So.
Not always. For every great
Yeah.
choice, there's probably been 10 bad choices.
Yeah, so that's a really great
Yeah.
question, because that does
Yeah.
come in a lot where people are pressuring me to make a decision for them.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not making that decision
Right.
for you. That's not my role.
Yeah.
I'm not a fortune teller.
Right.
You're gonna marry this
I'm a guide.
guy,
Yes.
And then, I have done that in my younger years, where I've told people a little bit more than they should know.
Yeah.
So, and luckily it's just with my girlfriends. We laugh about it now,
Right.
but I don't do that anymore.
And it came out true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm learning too.
Right. Oh, I'm sure. It's not, I can't imagine what you have in your head the entire time when you're reading someone or seeing things, or
Yeah.
do you walk down the street and see somebody and just be
No.
like, no?
I don't do that, because I've set boundaries for
Okay.
myself, and I would just be exhausted, and I would be
Yeah.
talking to people in my car. It would not be.
It would be so much
safe,
noise.
You
Yes.
know. So, do you feel like today? I mean, we're already friends, but did you learn anything? Do you feel like you learned something new today, or was there anything that was kind of eye-opening today?
Well, no, I love hearing your side of it, because I'm I'm always on the side of getting the reading, but to be on the other side, and just again the positive energy that this is your force field, that you're not going to let anything into it. And I think that that's like the biggest takeaway, is that we are energy, and we have the boundary of the energy that comes in and out of our own.
You got it.
Which-
You got it.
yeah.
And we are powerful.
Yeah.
We can't make blame other things. We have to take a responsibility for our power.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you so
100%.
much. I'm so
Thank
excited that
you.
you came today.
Yes,
and
this is so fun.
And so I'm so excited about starting this podcast. So if any of you guys are watching now and you're interested in learning more, you can come to my Instagram, which is Lisa Huscher 10, and also the Sunshine Secret of OC, the new podcast. So you look for me there.